The United States president is not just whispering, he is repeatedly shouting it out. The election process cannot be trusted, and a reform is urgently needed. However, such a reform would primarily disadvantage Democrats. Now, he is reportedly considering a radical step. Donald Trump's power is in jeopardy. It is threatened by disastrous poll numbers for him and his policies, which are impacting the chances of Republican candidates in the upcoming congressional elections in November. The president is reportedly considering declaring a national emergency due to alleged election interference from China, which would allow him to unilaterally change election rules in his favor. This information comes from reports by the Washington Post. In the United States, individual states conduct nationwide elections with the rules set by Congress. Currently, a bill containing Trump's desired changes is stalled in the Senate. Trump had urged Congress to pass these new regulations during his State of the Nation address, but there is no sufficient majority in sight for the so-called SAVE Act. This means Trump would have to try and push through the changes by other means. He had previously written 2 weeks ago that there is an irrefutable legal argument for voter identification cards and restricted mail-in voting, stating he would present this in the form of an executive order. Fraud is widespread in our elections, Trump argued during his State of the Nation address, speaking before both chambers of Congress and Supreme Court justices. He boomed, "It is very simple. All voters must present a voter identification card. All voters must present proof of citizenship. No more manipulated mail-in ballots." However, Trump's premise is incorrect. Election fraud in the United States is exceedingly rare. Moreover, experts say millions of eligible voters do not possess the necessary documents to meet such new requirements. The governor of Illinois commented, "The SAVE Act is not about stopping fraud, it is about stopping voters." The proposed changes would potentially disadvantage population groups that typically lean Democrat. According to the Washington Post, a possible avenue for Trump is the declaration of a national emergency due to alleged election manipulation by China in the 2020 election. Activists reportedly presented the White House with a 17-page draft order that would grant Trump the power to alter election rules. Peter Ticktin, an attorney involved in drafting the proposal, is quoted saying, "The president is aware that foreign interests are interfering in our election processes. This leads to a national emergency in which the president must be allowed to take care of it." Trump could then use this authority to halt mail-in voting and ban voting machines, declaring them as foreign entry points for interference. Currently, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is involved in an investigation into alleged election fraud and was even personally present during the seizure of voter lists in the state of Georgia. Michael Hayden, former head of the CIA and NSA, called this unbelievable, telling the newspaper, "That is not at all her area of responsibility." Former high-ranking United States intelligence officials told the Washington Post that her remit is foreign influence, not the election process itself. A current staff member of Gabbard's stated she is indeed investigating foreign election interference. This could, therefore, be a search for justification for an emergency declaration, as Trump is reportedly considering. One version of the executive order cites an extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States, alleging that foreign actors are targeting election infrastructure. Trump's predecessor, Joe Biden, had also cited an extraordinary threat in the past, imposing sanctions on Russia and Iran based on similar concerns regarding foreign interference. Last June, a tip-off to domestic intelligence and the Federal Bureau of Investigation became public, suggesting Chinese efforts to obtain mail-in ballots using fake driver's licenses. Whether this actually occurred remains unclear. Mark Warner, the leading Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, suspects a conspiracy to influence the will of the voters and undermine both the rule of law and public trust in our elections. Should Trump lose his majority in Congress, it would have consequences. While Parliament can hardly stop him, it can certainly slow him down, annoy him with investigative committees, force concessions, and prepare for a possible change of power in the White House. Without Congress, Trump would be, in political terms, a lame duck. He would then have to govern even more than he already does through executive orders, which a succeeding head of state could easily invalidate. Laws legally supersede executive orders. This is a potential fate Trump is currently facing. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story. This video was generated using artificial intelligence. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more updates. See you next time.